You probably clicked on this video because you're interested in moving into tech, you're interested in starting a new career, or you've always been interested in tech and you don't know how to get in. Tech may seem scary, but it is a learned skill. And I know that if you want to move into tech, you can do it. Hey, I'm Matt from Azure Cloud Horizons, and I'm here to teach you about how to move into a job working in Azure. In this video, I'm going to talk about transferable skills. I'm going to talk about certifications you might want to take, jobs that may lead into working into Azure, and as a queer person, I'm going to talk about some special resources for queer people looking to move into tech. I have the video marked in chapters, so if you're only interested in a specific part, feel free to skip around. So let's talk about transferable skills. Let's talk about the skills that you have that would make you a great Azure admin. I think one of the biggest skills, and I don't think this is well advertised to people, but a lot of soft skills are really, really huge in Azure management. So skills like communication, project management, learning and research, and being proactive. So for example, with this Azure Update Manager project, I had to set timelines for the project and make sure that it got done on time, and I had to communicate with other people in the company and tell them hey, this change is coming, it may affect your server, let me know if it's broken. So I think if you in your current job already do a lot of communication or already do a lot of project management, that's great. That is a skill that you already have that is a one-up on a lot of people that are more technically focused to start. Another thing that's really huge in Azure and in tech in general, in my opinion, is learning and research. So learning new things is a constant job in tech because tech is constantly changing. The Azure of today is way, way, way different than the Azure of 5 years ago. If you're really good at Googling things, if you're really good at using AI tools to find answers, if you're good at if you have a video game on your computer that stops working and you research why it stops working and you find maybe there's a registry key that needed to be changed. All these type of things are really, really helpful school tools that will take you a long way in tech, because a lot of tech is learning something new and then implementing it. Another soft skill that I think is huge is proactivity. And I don't know if this is big in every job, but I think it's important in most jobs. So if you come to your boss and you say hey, I found this problem and I have this solution for it, let's work on it. I think that can get you really far in your career. There are also a lot of technical skills that may be helpful to transfer in if you already work in a different technical area, if you're wanting to make the move into working in Azure. So one of the biggest ones, in my opinion, is server management. So if you're good at Windows or Linux servers, most companies have more of one or the other, but probably mostly have both. So Windows or Linux server management can be really helpful. One thing that is always helpful in every technical field is security experience. With the amount of attacks that are happening with regard to hacking nowadays, security is of utmost importance. Another big technical skill, or maybe it's a soft skill, maybe it's a little bit of both, is cost management. In Azure, everything is billed by the hour or billed by the minute. So it can get really expensive really fast. I had a coworker who built out the highest end server for a task that he was trying to do, and he ran it for a few days and ended up costing the company $40,000, which is kind of a big deal, right? So cost management and that cost forward thinking can be really important when you're working in Azure. If you already work in tech and you have more ideas for transferable skills that people could have to bring into tech, please let them know about them in the comments below. Help each other out. The next thing I want to talk about is certifications. And I think certifications are really important in tech, especially if you already have a bachelor's degree. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, you can often get away with just doing certifications, but it may be required. It just really depends on the job and the industry that you're working in. So the first certification I want to talk about is the Microsoft Azure Fundamentals certification. edition. It's also known as the AZ900. And this is like the best place to start if you don't know anything about Azure. Microsoft has some free resources on their website, learn.microsoft.com. YouTube has a ton of resources on these exams. There's also like books, there's other paid courses that you can do, but I like to choose free resources when they're just as good for me as paid resources. With regard to paid resources for any of these exams, I personally find it really helpful to take the official practice tests, which do cost money. Like usually they give you like 30 days worth of practice tests for like a fixed price. I find that extremely helpful towards passing the exam. Hopefully this will help you in your journey towards learning about Azure. A quick summary of this exam is it talks about like what is the cloud, security, storage, networking, computing, and application services. The next exam I want to talk about is the Microsoft Azure Administrator exam, also known as the AZ-104 exam. And this covers like the vast majority of Azure services, how to deploy them, and using Microsoft's like well-architected framework, which is just their like vision for how Azure should be used. If you have like some basic knowledge of Azure or other technical knowledge, you may be able to skip the AZ900 exam and just start with this exam. Once again, I think learn.microsoft.com and YouTube have some great resources. I'll put some links in the description below. Some of the topics this exam covers are like operating systems, identities, which is like logging into things, storage, deploying Azure resources using like the Azure portal, which is just the Azure website, deploying resources using PowerShell or Azure CLI. So this is where it gets into like scripting a little bit and learning about how to like automate things using scripts. The last exam I want to talk about is the AZ305 or the Solutions Architect Expert exam. So this is once you've completed the first two exams and you want to learn about how to design resources in Azure in the best way. I think this is the exam to take. This exam covers like designing identity governance and monitoring, meaning instead of just deploying a system per like someone else's recommendation, or instead of just like setting up a server, you're taking a step back and looking at what's the best way to run this solution. So it talks about designing data storage, designing business continuity, which is like if one server goes down and you have a different server that does the same thing that can take over immediately so that your customers don't lose access to your data. And it also talks about designing infrastructure, and infrastructure meaning just like computers and like different resources and networking in Azure. The next thing I want to talk about is jobs that could lead towards working in Azure. So you could be already working in one of these jobs, or you could be working in a different job and you see an opportunity in one of these spaces and then you're working towards working in Azure. I think these could be great fits for you. So if you have like no experience with IT, that's totally cool. I think one of the best places to start is doing IT support. So this job is typically answering like calls or emails from customers, like they could be internal customers or external customers that are having trouble with something and helping them support that thing. And I think this can be a great place to start because you get a breadth of experience. You get like a little bit of experience with like helping with email or helping with like specific applications or working on operating systems or working on servers. You just get a little tiny bit of experience with everything so you can kind of see, actually, do I want to go into Azure or do I want to go into project management? Who knows? I think other positions that can lead towards a job in Azure are like working as a server admin. So like working on deploying new operating systems, deploying new servers, like deploying physical servers on site, because like the concepts are very similar in Azure, but instead of deploying like a physical box, you're clicking a button. And also with networking, it's kind of the same thing. If you're used to deploying physical networking, you will be able to deploy virtual networking. The last thing I want to talk about is resources for queer people who want to get into tech. I am a queer person myself, and Like, I think there are not enough LGBTQ people in tech, and I think I want the environment to be more friendly to more diverse groups. One of the biggest groups that I've been involved in is called Out in Tech, and this is an organization that connects queer IT people with employers. And I've been to a few of their meetups in Portland, and I've also worked as a mentor with them for one term. I felt like I got a lot out of it, and I hope the person I was mentoring got a lot out of it too. It can be a great way to get started if you want to work in Azure, if you want to be a coder, or if you want to work in a different IT job as well. There's another group called Trans Tech Social, and they have a similar goal of connecting LGBTQ plus people with employers. And I have not been to this group myself, but from looking at their website, it looks like a great resource. So like if they're in your area, it could be a cool place to get connected. And if you want to get connected virtually, there's a Slack group called LGBTQ and Technology. And I think this is helpful, like if you're in a more remote area, or if you just don't like interacting in person, this could be a good way to talk to other people that are in tech. I've put links to all these things in the description down below, and feel free to visit those resources. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching this video. And if you want more cool Azure content like this in your feed, make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask them in the comments below. Or if you want to help someone else out trying to get into tech and you're already in tech, feel free to reach out to them in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and have a great rest of your day.